The world is doing its level best to make sure that smartphone manufacturers are putting out devices which give them plenty of options in the price range of not a week's pay. And while in that regard, we're still lagging behind here in the good old US of A, Samsung has brought some solid, lower cost US options to market in its Galaxy A series of phones. Even more so when it recently bumped the specs of the line to 5G. So, if you don't want to pay the cost of a SpaceX floating ship launch, you now have more options for exploring the Galaxy in affordable style. Hey, if any of the videos you've watched here have helped you, please consider hitting us with the thumbs up, hitting us with that subscribe, and hitting the notification bell so that you get notified anytime we upload new content. Let me start off by saying that the A71 is the sauce. Not steak sauce like A1, but sauce as in internet slang for the source, the link to something you want. Oh, and I know what you want. You want a solid camera. 71 is the sauce. You want a phone whose UI or user interface is one of the smoothest I've used at this price point. 71's the sauce. Solid battery life? Your days will be marinated in the sauce. And 5G? Yep, it's in the sauce. Only one thing I really found fault with here, but we'll get into that in a minute. This phone is actually pretty large while keeping it feeling manageable in hand. You get a beautiful Samsung panel that is 6.7 inches of Super AMOLED Plus Infinity O display crystal clarity, and it is a joy to look at. The phone creeps into Samsung's higher end phone territory with its size comparable to the S and Note lines. The differences show up in battery size and features, but the other thing the A line maybe should stand for is average, meaning for the average user. I think this is phone aplenty, but let's look a little deeper. Along with this gorgeous display on the front, you're going to get a front-facing 32 megapixel camera, which takes solid selfies and gives you the ability to take both the standard and wider angle versions of selfies, or groupies, or whatever. One thing I noticed on the A51 4G version and now on this A71 5G is that these front cameras actually do a really good job of dealing with areas of an image which are overexposed. In this selfie where I'm backlit with a very bright light and daylight from my window bouncing off that white diffuser on that softbox in the right side of the photo, Samsung software does a fantastic job of not blowing out the background and maintaining a serviceable amount of detail in the background. And colors on the front shooter aren't so oversaturated, but closer to real life. Below that is an in-display fingerprint sensor, which is standard fare for 5G phones at this price point. And this one works like you've come to expect for Samsung devices. Once you get the muscle memory down, it's pretty consistent. My only gripe being that I'll be glad when they increase the target area or the size of the scanner. Right side of the phone, you get the power button and volume rocker, while the left is barren. No Bixby button, and as you already know, that's fine by me. Bottom of the phone is where you'll find a microphone, stereo speaker, USB-C charge port, and a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. Top is where the SIM tray and expandable storage is located. All right, let's talk photos. Samsung has done a good job on down their lines with consistent, solid quality camera sensors, which produce pretty consistent results across their lines. The night mode algorithm does, of course, get better at the top of the line, but here in the mid-range, you're still going to get quality nighttime shots. Here's the difference between what an image looks like with and without night mode. Night mode off, night mode on. Which do you prefer? With night mode, you do increase some of the noise in the night sky, but that isn't all that visible on a mobile display. One of the solid points of night mode is that even in relative darkness with the feature activated, you still get a good amount of detail and color, as you can see with these green to autumn colored leaves. Daytime shots are solid as well. Even on overcast days, these vibrantly colored flowers are beautiful, as captured by Samsung's 64 megapixel shooter. Even with these loud colors, you don't lose much detail in the images, and here's a pic from the wide angle sensor, which shows how the camera handles contrast in blacks and shades of gray with a splash of what I can only assume is red velvet cake splattered onto that wall. I picked this pic up on a walk from my office to a local breakfast spot recently. Now, this is a 5G phone, and that means that potentially you're going to have to deal with some battery life issues depending on where you work and play. For me, both at home and at the job site, I have strong 5G signal on T-Mobile, and AT&T, which is the carrier this review unit is connected to. All around the areas I frequent most on my weekends, I had a fast connection with this phone. But what if you aren't in an area with strong signal and the phone is constantly searching for signal? You will take a hit to the battery, but this phone's battery is massive, all things considered, weighing in at a massive 4,500 milliamp hours and includes 25-watt fast charging, which got me to almost 50% charge in 30 minutes. My only issue with this battery is its lack of wireless charging. At $600, I think it should absolutely have this feature. I think that one of the interesting points this phone makes is just how much device you can get at half the cost of the premium phones. Every time I picked this phone up, I was constantly impressed by just how smooth and fast this phone feels. It isn't something you might notice until you've had quite a few phones come through your hands, but the A71 is noticeably faster and smoother than some of the competition at this price point. And I'll even take that a step further and tell you it feels smoother and faster than some of the phones which cost much more, which is even more impressive considering the version I'm testing is the one with only 6 gigabytes of RAM. Samsung also offers a version with 8 gigabytes of RAM. Clearly, they've done some solid work optimizing their One UI interface on top of Android 10. I'll actually be talking about that in a head-to-head comparison of this phone and 2 others in an upcoming review this month. Look out for that because we're really going to dig in and look at 3 5G handsets, all in the $600 range, and what you get for your money from each phone, as well as my pick. Here in the US, you're going to get full-featured Samsung Pay with MST, not just NFC, meaning you get a phone which emulates your credit cards and not just one which needs to wirelessly connect to a pay terminal for tap to pay like Google and Apple Pay. So, what do I think of this phone? Ultimately, I'd call the A71 5G 2020's version of the S10e, but with 5G. Yeah, an S20 Ultra economy version. To me, that's the best comparison I can offer to what is in Samsung's lineup. This really is a solid performing device, and if your bank account does not align with the S20 Ultra pricing, but you want a 5G Samsung phone, I think this is it for Samsung fans. This is the sauce. Hey, if you want to learn about AT&T's pricing for the A71 as well as any other carriers, we have all that information on reviews.org. Easy for you to find, check it out. If you have any questions that I did not answer in the review, go ahead and leave them in the comments below. I'll get to them. As always, we don't take it lightly that you spent your time with us. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you on the next video.